straight down 17th Street, you could see a half moon, beginning to set, I guess. This morning I woke up super early, and it's around 7 o'clock now, but I kind of woke up and I lifted my head and could kind of see a big gigantic light through my window, and I was half in dream state. And at first I thought, oh, is that like the big gigantic moon? Because not too long ago there was a big, huge, like almost blood red moon. And would it make its way that way? It was north of the street though, not south. It was really just the Comcast light, that huge portion of the Comcast building that's lit up. So I had to double check later. Mustang went by with, black Mustang with 2 racing stripes, and it reminds me of a helmet I had a long time ago, a bike helmet, ages ago. I thought it was really cute to get this unusual helmet, bike helmet that had more of a derby look, I guess is the best way to describe it, and it had the 2 racing stripes on the sign, like kind of off, say, to the right side, even though it went straight over just like that Mustang. But I had a guy kind of joke, this is someone who lived next door to 2 friends and clients of mine who lived on Doran Street, down on like south of Bainbridge, over by between 19th and 18th Street, Graduate Hospital area. And he saw me, walking their dogs, these clients of mine who now live in Portland, Oregon. And he's like, he saw my helmet, and he was like, he's like, that looks like something you would bang your head against the wall with, if you're in a mental institution. He was half joking, but what I realized is that particular guy, even though I was always nice to him and his wife, they always had to find a way to dig, or they always had to find a way to hurt in a conversation, as opposed to, it seemed like an actual agenda, as opposed to them just sort of not knowing better, you know what I mean? And it came across as so I would see him after 2011, when I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment, when my mom and aunt's phone lines were severed, so that when I called I heard doo-doo-doo, sorry if I'm not trying to reach, it's been disconnected. So that, from then on I experienced so much harassment, you think I exposed the beef, food, tobacco industries, whatever, all combined. That's how bad that was, worse than a Russell Crowe movie. And you can't go to police for that, it turns out. You have to be able to prove all that. It's really hard to prove. So, instead you run around in circles while people keep feeding you dog walks, potentially on purpose. Were they helping or hurting? But I was kept on the streets for a long time. And I mean, some people have dog walks and they're in the same neighborhood all the time. I was all over the city, traversing the city, up to 5-10 miles a day, even more. I was all over the city. So anyway, but I would run into that same guy who made the helmet comment about it looking like someone in a mental institution who'd be banging their head against the wall. I was like, oh hey, I still was friendly to him on the street. This is just, north of my apartment, over by the Pepper building. It's on Lombard and 19th, southeast corner. And I was like, he's like, how you doing, or whatever. He was actually seemingly okay. And I was like, well, I kind of experienced this weird thing. Do you happen to know anything about weird stuff that might be going on right now in the city? I made it seem like he's like, oh well, maybe he tried to infer that it was me, and that's part of the game. Oh, maybe you think maybe you're borderline personality or split personality or schizophrenic. So what helped me was, not only am I too smart for these idiots, but also I did seek out therapy just to sort of work through issues that have to do with a lot of abuse that's you're not seen while growing up. Has to do with being in a step family, like having to visit, dealing with certain dynamics and people sneaking around. So anyway, and just like barriers from growing up. And I still sought out therapy because also it's a way to feel supported when you're alone in the world and don't have, say, family members who really understand or know what to say. Sometimes if you can seek out inexpensive therapy, like nonprofit sliding scale, thank God it was available, and it happened to be available here at the Philadelphia building at a place called Women's Therapy Center. It doesn't exist any longer. Pandemic really, sort of switched things up in the city. But anyway, I would talk to a therapist and say, this thing is so bad it could make I was like, in a way it's like people want you to seem like a schizophrenic. And she's like, oh God, no, have you ever listened to a schizophrenic, someone who's actually diagnosed with schizophrenia? And I was like, no, I just know in the brain, like someone could be so scrambled up, or like they're trying to explain something and it's not clear enough. And most people aren't perfectly clear because you always go off on tangents and you're trying to explain a big story in a short period of time. So anyway, not too long after, I was doing anything I could to sort of get out there to try to find new people to meet or whatever. And I joined up with this meetup group. It was like for philosophy. I forget what it was. We met up at the Belgian Waffle House that used to be way down by Jefferson University Hospital. And sure enough, someone showed up with a schizophrenic who was at a nearby emotional support, mental play. I wish there was a better word, behavioral health, what have you. And boom. If you met a schizophrenic, you would know immediately because nothing makes sense when you hear them. What I think is their brains were messed with too much by something similar to what I experienced, or some control factors in the sky. It's hard to explain because they're jumping, like every word is a jump to a new topic, if you will. That is a short circuit in the brain. So I actually kind of think a lot of people aren't totally mentally ill. They are messed with by communities that should know better. So we'll just leave it at that. I learned that people handle intel a certain way and they could be using people. And if you mess with someone too much, they could wind up seeming like, coming across as schizophrenic. But anyway, that's the schizophrenia issue. But I was worried. I'm like, I don't want to sound crazy when I try to explain it, because it's hard to explain what happened, and I'm all over the place, scared and everything. So